All right, guys. So today we're gonna focus pretty hardcore on the top attackers in the game right now. The Pokemon who I recommend everybody has on their team. So when they're clearing gyms, they don't waste a bunch of potions. They don't spend a ton of time. They get it done. They move on. They get the next gym going. You might say, "Oh, I have no problem taking gyms. It's not a big deal. I never have to worry about it." Well, in truth, the real meta of the game, as people burn through more and more of their potions, is going to be about kind of trades. So you want to set up a difficulty in a way that makes it difficult for the other person to efficiently take that gym from you without having to spend a ton of potions, a ton of revives, and whatnot. And so your job is really to be a pain in the ass, and that's what we're looking at clearing. Today is all about attacking. We'll talk about defending another day, but today we're all about the attackers. So first of all, there are three, whatever the equivalent of, or whatever the opposite of honorable mention would be, that it's kind of above the main list. These three Pokemon are pretty rare, and so I don't want to say, oh, every trainer needs these, although I recommend if you can get your hands on a good one, and I'm talking like 2,000 CP and up, depending on your level, I highly recommend it, but I can't say that they're a must-have because not everybody has access to get them. First among those is pretty obvious, is Dragonite. Dragonite has the highest attack of all the non-legendaries, so nobody's attack stat gets higher than his. Even when it's not a stab move, he's just doing a huge base attack damage. He's weak only against Ice, Dragon, Fairy, and Rock. And so those types are somewhat hard to come by. Lapras obviously is one of those ones that gives Dragonite a hard time. I've seen some Kabutops that can give Dragonite a hard time, but for the most part, the type advantage of a Dragonite is very, very strong. Ideally, you want to get Dragon Breath, and I think Dragon Pulse is the charge move that's the best in that slot. So both of my Dragonites have Steel Wing, which is a Steel type. So it could be worse, could be better, definitely. I'd much rather have a Dragon type move on that just because of the type advantage, but it's handy to have some Steel damage output because it is strong against a few things, but not a ton of things that are in the current meta, and we'll talk about that. So when I say the meta of the game, I'm talking about the things that you're likely to encounter out in the wild. So there's a lot of things on spreadsheets that make sense, that have high attacks, that on paper they're the best out there. But if you can't get it in your area, if you can't get enough candy to evolve it, then it doesn't really matter. So when I talk about the meta, I talk about what's actually out there and what we're actually facing. The second in the exceptionally honorable mention would be Snorlax. Snorlax is another one of the rare 10K Pokemon that's pretty hard to come by. I think most people have one or at least have seen one. The first one I ever saw ran away from me, and I was in a proper tantrum because of that. But Snorlax has great attacks, incredibly high defense, and he's only weak against fighting types. So that's pretty rare in the game. Again, the goal is to set him up as a tank and make your enemy spend a bunch of potions to have to get through him. So the fact that he is only weak to fighting damage, and the fighting Pokemon in the game just aren't that great. They're not terrible. Like the Hitmons are not terrible, but they're just not great. So I've seen a ton of Snorlax up on gyms that are a real pain in the ass, but they also are a fantastic attacker as well. Lick, the ghost type move, is very strong, and then Body Slam from a charge move perspective is very strong as well. Lapras is the final of these honorable mention Pokemon. Ice type, great for clearing out Dragonite. There was a very large Dratini nest that was in the area here, and there's a lot of Dragonite because of that. So ice attacks are great, and they've got a really high defense. They're like, I think, second or third in the overall stats, including their defense and their stamina. So very, very strong, great defender as well. But when you're up against a Lapras, Electric, Rock, Grass, and Fighting to take them out. But Lapras, if you can get your hands on a good one, up over the 2,000 threshold. Mine's just barely up over that level. But Ice Shard, I believe it's Frost Breath is the better of the two charge moves. And then, Ice Beam isn't bad. And it's got a really cool animation, too, which I think is nice. And then I want to talk about 5 Pokemon that I think should be in everyone's arsenal that I think are fairly easy to come by. Your area might vary a bit as far as what is more common and less common, but the first on this list, tons of controversy lately. A lot of people are posting information that I think is just false. Even big websites like Kotaku, I think, just have it completely wrong. Vaporeon. My Vaporeon, this 2174 Vaporeon, has perfect 100% IVs, literally 15, 15, 15. It could not get any better. Water gun and hydro pump. So people are saying, oh, but water gun got nerfed, so it's terrible now. Well, no. All, as in 100% of the quick moves got nerfed. And so the whole game got balanced around doing quick moves and then doing charge moves. And so the folks who are talking about, oh, Vaporeon got nerfed, the argument is that Vaporeon used to be king. And now that Vaporeon is kind of balanced around everybody else, is that everybody else got buffed. Vaporeon himself did not get nerfed. Hydro Pump used to be not even really worth the effort to do, but now Hydro Pump is putting out 90 damage and really, really high DPS. So water, obviously great against fire, and there's quite a few Arcanine out there because of the high CP modifier. So Vaporeon against Arcanine, excellent foil for that. Very, very popular Pokemon. Second, we just mentioned him, Arcanine. He's got the highest CP modifier of all of the really common Pokemon. Growlithe is going to be somewhere that there are a lot of fire type Pokemon out there. And so, my Arcanine, Katy Perry, who has helped me win quite a few events before I got the Dragonite, Bite and Flamethrower, Fire Fang and Fire Blast are the two. So Fire Fang for the quick attack, and then Fire Fang for the charge move. Those are the best combos. But I quite like having a dark type move because there's a lot of things that will have that dark immunity. But talking about pure raw DPS numbers, Fire Fang will do a little bit more DPS than Bite will. But again, type advantage. The CP modifier is really what makes Arcanine better than even Charizard and some of the others. He just gets so big, and so his overall stats, it makes him a good defender, makes him a good attacker. Of course, he's weak to Vaporeon, but that's not the end of the world. Third Pokemon on this list, I think another really important attacker is the Executor. My Executor doesn't have really great IVs. He's not terrible, but Zen Headbutt, Psychic Attack, so quite a few things that are weak to Psychic. The first gen was very focused around kind of that fire, water, grass, rock, dragon, ice. So having a strong CP Psychic move is really helpful. And then Seed Bomb. Seed Bomb is important because you need to have something that can take out Vaporeon. And so having grass type moves to go after those, very, very, very valuable. He can go after Lapras as well. So if you're worried about somebody attacking your your Dragonite and whatnot, and you need something to clear those Pokemon out, and then Gengar is the number 4 on this list. My Gengar is really weak, so I'm in the process of, I don't even know if I still have him. But Ghost type is really handy. They're resistant to normal fighting, poison, bug, grass, and fairy, but weak to ground, ghost, psychic, and dark. So there aren't a ton of those moves in the meta. There's a little bit of psychic, a little bit of ground, but it's just not. If it was weak to one of the main 3 types, then it would be he'd be more threatened. Shadow Claw is Gengar's best quick attack, and then Sludge Wave, which is a poison attack, which again gives you a couple different types to be playing with there. That's the strongest charge attack for Gengar, so very, very good. Poison and Ghost both are good against Executor, so if somebody's using Executor to clear the Lapras out, having a Gengar in there. And then last on the list, and this might surprise you, Rhydon. Okay, and the reason that I like Rhydon is because mine has Rock Smash, which is pretty common on the Rhydons, but that's a fighting type move. And so this is a Pokemon that can get up into the 2000s. So mine I think might cap out at about 1950 right now, but he could get pretty good. And but the real key to to ride on is that Stone Edge, right? So you look at it and it's like, oh, well, it's 80. That doesn't sound amazing. Stone Edge has a 50% critical rate. So, you're looking at, half of the attacks that you charge up doing that are going to do 1.5 times damage. We think that is the critical. We don't 100% understand how critical damage calculation is done, but we think it's 1.5 because that's how it is in the main games. But so if you're up against Snorlax, fighting types, great. But again, just for putting out huge numbers, that Stone Edge attack, very, very, very strong. He's got good base stats. He's definitely not a Dragonite, but what this does for you is it adds some fighting attacks and some rock attacks, but also in a way that the Stone Edge just has that ability to put out some absolutely insane numbers, which I think is really, really good. One of the important things to remember when doing attacks is that your charge moves, this is important, this is some math stuff, your charge up moves, especially now that they're so much more important, are going to gain gauge, right? That blue bar there, it's going to gain mana or stamina to do it based on the amount of damage you do with the quick attacks. So the Hydro Pump does absolutely insane damage, but the more damage you do and faster damage you do with your quick attacks, the faster that's going to charge up. So that's where these type advantages and having a good mix of strong attackers comes into play. If I'm fighting an Arcanine, I know I'm going to go with a Vaporeon. The Vaporeon is going to charge his abilities faster. I might use the Arcanine and only do the quick attack and then charge up my Hydro Pump for use on the next Pokemon. But you get 1.5 points of charge for every... you get 1 point of charge for every 1.5 damage you do to the defending Pokemon. So the more damage you do, and the more damage you will do because of a type advantage, the faster you will charge up that gauge, and the faster you will put out huge damage. So this gets into the old school Pokemon logic of having the best type advantage that you can. The more faster damage you're doing with your quick attacks, the faster you're going to fill up that gauge, the harder you're going to hit with those charge attacks once they're ready. So very, very, very important to match up the right type attack to the defender. Bulbapedia is a great resource. All the old school resources, Cerebi, great resources for finding out exactly where which type is good against which. Even just in doing the research to have this video, I looked at Bulbapedia to see that type advantage chart. So definitely go out with the right the right tool for the job and the right attackers to take out what is out in your meta. And if in your area you see a ton of something else, then look that up and say, okay, I'm going to need to do this type of damage. Go to the Sylph Road best, and you can sort by attack power and figure out, okay, I have to do this type of damage. Who's the strongest one to do that? And your meta might vary, from the meta that we see in a lot of other big cities. So, always be comfortable catering it to your own setup. But you want to elect those key attackers. Those are the ones that you want to put the Stardust into. Even if you're only like level 20, even level 15, you can get Pokemon if you have access to the candy. If it's like a level 5 Dragonite or a Dratini or something like that, you're probably not going to be able to evolve it. So, don't hold on to those super low level ones that aren't going to be able to get the candy to grow with you. But yeah, if you follow those tactics, you should have no problem clearing out the gyms. And if you found this information valuable, please click that subscribe link. We had a lot of really big friends of mine that have shared the video recently, and I'm very, very grateful for all the attention. Starting today, if you are a subscriber, we're going to be giving away a Mewtwo toy from Gen Con, which is where we're heading tomorrow morning at like dark 30. So we will be recording live from Gen Con for the rest of the week and into the weekend. And then we're going to be talking about defending gyms, and we're going to take a look at what the meta looks like out there and see if we can meet some new trainers. So click like, click subscribe, and you'll have my unending gratitude. Thank you.